Hey mamas, and welcome to the Entering Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Marie Bilger, a wife, mom of two, VBAC mama, and doula. Join us every episode to learn from professionals, special guests, and moms just like you, ensuring that you know what you need to know and discover things that you didn't know before. I believe in you. Let's doula this, and let's navigate the transition of entering motherhood together. Hey mama, this is another episode of the Entering Motherhood podcast. This specifically is a Doula Talk episode, which if you don't know, we go live on Instagram. And by we, I mean me and Caitlin, who is the co-creator of our signature Own Your Birth childbirth education course. Please go look at that if you are looking for a childbirth education course. It's self-led online comprehensive course, and it is just packed with all the information that you will need to be able to feel informed and empowered as you navigate this stage of pregnancy and leading into birth and even the postpartum period. So we are so excited about that course, and we have been chatting and having these doula talks to provide you with more information to really own your birth and have information that maybe you didn't know or refresh your memory on things like that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you ever have any topics that you feel like you would want to add or hear, if you have any questions, then please reach out to us and let us know so that we can include it in these episodes and in these conversations that we are having for you to really feel informed and empowered. So let's get this episode started. Hello, we are live for another Doula Talk today. So I am waiting for Caitlin to come and join, and we are going to be talking about in-person connections and how it's so important during all stages of pregnancy, birth, and even the postpartum period, and what that can look like for you and things like that. So let me add Caitlin here. Hello. There you are. Good. Good. So I was saying, another doula talk today, and we're going to be talking about in-person connections and what that can look like during pregnancy and then birth and then into the postpartum period.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
I think so. I think we live in such a world and an age of, digital products and things like that. And of course, I'm always going to promote our birth course and say how awesome that is. And that is an online resource. We chose to make it something that was completely online and accessible for anybody. But I do feel like complementing that with somebody in person is also super vital, and having that in-person connection. So whether that is, simply just your partner or, a friend or a family member, or you choose to have a doula, whatever that looks like, even your provider is an in-person connection. When you're going there and you're actually coming up with questions beforehand and talking to them and having a conversation with them while you're there. I know some providers, it might be shorter appointments than others, but they are there to see you in person more than just, measuring your belly and asking you, do you have any questions, or having you pee in a cup or whatever it might be. Like utilize that in-person connection and have that as a resource, because it does make a difference. So what kind of in-person connections would you kind of want to talk about, and have you found helpful?
Well, that is kind of like a hard question because there's so many. It's one of those things, like, I feel like I'm the kind of person who thrives off community, and in-person community especially. So I really enjoy having a close group of friends that I can talk to and just share life with on a very regular basis. And after I had my daughter, I made it a point to go out and say, "Hey, let's meet for coffee. Let me come to your house," or whatever. And that helped me mentally, because I was able to go do things, get ready in the morning, like, still have a life, but not make it like, "Oh, hey, let's go for this 3-mile walk." I'm still resting and recovering, but with people.
Yeah.
And I'm always gonna advocate for a doula, like, obviously, I love doulas, so that's another huge in-person connection. There are some online virtual doulas too, and those are also great if you don't want that person in your birth. You can still have those people in your corner, but for me, having that in-person support is invaluable, and there's so many different avenues to find a doula. I think that's something that is almost like a stumbling block for a lot of people because they're like, "Well, how do you even find one?" Okay,
Yeah.
mom groups on Facebook are, like, the best thing ever, especially the local ones. Like, I know our local mom group is such a good resource because, I mean, we don't live in a huge town, but it's also not a very small one either, and so there's quite a few thousand people in there, and we're always just, "Hey, what's this? Tell me about this person. Do you know any of, like, this type of provider?" And it's so helpful because then you're not going out spending hours on Google or wherever,
Yeah.
and then you have real feedback about these people too. So, I guess those are probably, like, my top 2 in-person recommendations. But like
Yeah.
I said, I could go on for a long time.
Yeah, and it's really different for everybody. I think I specifically remember finding a prenatal yoga class when I was pregnant with our son or with our daughter, our first, and it was just so nice to be among other people that were
Mhm,
also pregnant and be doing something that was moving my body, that I felt like that
mhm.
connection, and it was really nice and like I had the I guess, time freedom to, like, go out and be doing that and, like,
Yeah.
utilizing that, and it was just, like, one of those things where just, like, sitting there among other people, like, even when we were
Mhm,
just, like, at the very end, like, in our own state, like, you can feel other people's energy, like, I really
mhm,
do believe in the presence of other people and feeling their energy
mhm.
and knowing, like, okay, like, all these people came here together to do the same thing, and, like, we're all
Yep.
pregnant, and, like, we're all enjoying this yoga class, and we're all
Mhm,
kind of, like, in that same moment,
mhm,
and that was, like, a really cool experience, and then we took a birth class for both, and we did an in-person class for our first, and then we did an online class with the same person, but it was online, and it's so interesting because I remember every single person in the in-person class because we were there every week for a few hours, and I would look around the room, and I would recognize their faces, and we connected, and we talked,
mhm.
and then the online class, I mean, there were a little box on Zoom that I saw, and sometimes they turned their camera off, sometimes I turned my camera off, sometimes I would be listening, but, like, not truly being present, and
Mhm,
so it literally just makes such a difference when you are
mhm,
dedicating that time, being intentional, and
mhm,
showing up in that in-person space because it can just make such a like, I had friends from that first birth class, like, I couldn't tell
mhm.
you who was in the second one. Like, maybe like, I could kind of, like, think back or, like, ask the instructor or be like, "Who was in this class at that time?" Or, like,
Yeah,
"Did we have a Facebook group that went with it?" Like, who
yeah,
were these people? But, like,
yeah.
I never had a conversation with them, like, briefly before class or a little bit after and, like,
Mhm,
those lull moments or, like, walking to the bathroom because we all had to pee,
mhm,
it's just it's one of those things where, like, you don't quite realize it until, like, you have that comparison
mhm,
or, like, you're just, like, seeking it, and I think because of, social media and because of,
mhm,
COVID and everything that happened with that, we kinda have, like, drawn back from those in-person things, and we've seen it as,
mhm.
like, a convenience to be more online,
Yeah,
but I think, like, we really need to root back to having those in-person connections, especially during this time in our life, because it is it is lonely sometimes, like, when you're going
Mhm.
through pregnancy and, you're having, like, all these things and you're, like, sitting there, like, scrolling on your phone or whatever it might be, and your, mind is racing and all these things are going on. If you just had a friend come over and you
Yeah.
had somebody to just, like, let it all out to,
Mhm.
then it wouldn't be, like, circling up in your head or,
Yeah.
just at your birth, like you were saying, like, there's
Yeah.
yeah, sure, there's, like, online doulas, and I think, like, if you connect with somebody virtually that's, like, too far away to be at your birth, you can have a virtual doula. When we were in COVID and things were going on, maybe that was,
Mhm.
like, your only option, but now, like, even the research shows
Yeah.
how different it is when you have somebody there who is with you that their
Mhm.
intent and their purpose is to, help you or, support you
Mhm.
or listen to you or whatever it might be. Like you
Yeah.
have that person in your corner. And even if
Yeah.
they are standing like off in the corner and, not physically touching you or connecting with you, like whatever your birth plan looks like, whatever that setup was, the
Mhm.
research is still there that it
Yeah.
makes, labor smoother, faster,
Mhm.
more enjoyable. Like there's just so much that when you have an energy that you like and that you want
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I think, like, that's important too. Like, in-person connections can make or break a situation. If you have
Yeah.
somebody there that you do not want there, if you are
Mhm.
like, "Absolutely not, I don't feel safe, this person is annoying," like, "I'm getting negative energy from them," like, whatever it might be, like, that could
Mhm.
stall labor.
Oh,
That
yeah.
could make you be like, heck no, like this person needs to get out. I can't be in my
Mhm.
own space. I can't, block out my like the frontal cortex and like
Yeah.
I can't just like relax and be where I
Mhm.
need to be to birth this baby. And
Yep.
so, yeah, flipping it that way too, the in-person connection has to be something that you want and
Mhm.
enjoy and appreciate, like, being there because if not, it can go the opposite direction.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's something that has been like we've been really intentional about with I mean, obviously my son, he was born in COVID and he was a C-section, so nobody was really able to be in there anyway. But with my daughter, I was like, I don't want anybody here but you, obviously the doula, and my husband. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want family. I don't want anybody else because in my mind, now if you feel differently, that is totally fine. But for me, I was like, I feel like if I have one family member there, then another family member is going to want to come, then another. And then, like, I will have a hard time saying no. And then, all of that. It's just like a cascade. And I'm like, and I don't want a ton of people in there. That's an intimate moment. And I want it to be intimate. And so that was like a boundary that we set very early on. And I feel like that was helpful for me because even though I do thrive with connection, I also know that I'm an entertainer and I want to entertain. And that is not a time I'm entertaining. That is a time I am in my own brain and that's it. And so also knowing your boundaries and like where you're going to say, no, this is where I'm drawing the line and feel good about it. Like, don't feel bad about saying no. Don't feel bad about, drawing that line in the sand. And that even carries over into the provider. Like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, if it wasn't for you and obviously other pregnant mamas, that person wouldn't have a job. So do not feel bad letting your wishes be known and standing firm with
Right.
what your wishes are because they need to honor and respect your wishes. They can educate you and they can say, well, this is why, or, here's true informed consent, not like coercion, but true informed consent, giving the risks and the benefits. But you still get the final say in what you want to do because it is your body, your birth, and your baby.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and that's, like, one thing, like, this go around, like, we have decided this baby is not supposed to come until November, but
Mhm.
who knows? Because babies come when they wanna come, and
Yeah.
we have said, like, we don't want visitors in October, and, like, I
Mhm.
feel really, really good about that, and just
Yep.
knowing that, there's not gonna be somebody here that we have to kick out, there's not gonna be, somebody sleeping in the guest room or downstairs or wherever it might be, and we're like, "Hey, baby might be coming, you have to leave, and it's the middle of the night." Like, we're just saying, like, "Nobody here." And then I get to just, like, relax, be in my space. I'm wrapping up with clients right now in September. We have the event coming up this
Yeah.
weekend. Like, there is just a lot going on, and I'm ready
Mhm.
to just, like, relax, eat all the pumpkin stuff, and just, like, feel in the fall of it and I don't just get ready because
Yeah.
up until, like, this baby, I have been working like, my other 2 babies, I was working a corporate job, and I worked until the baby came, and so I didn't have that, like, luxury to choose, like, "Hey, I'm gonna make this stopping point at this time, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
choose to, be in my own bubble and, you know, just relax and
Yeah.
enjoy and embrace these last few weeks until baby gets here." And I'm super, super excited about that. And so, yes, like in-person connections are great. Like I still plan on like meeting up with friends and like seeing people in
Mhm.
person and like, obviously like going to my appointments, being with my provider, talking to my doulas, things like that. Like there's still going to be people around, but we're saying like no overnight visitors, no long stays. I choose who's coming into the house because like you
Mhm.
said, I like to host and I like to, make sure that everybody's okay. And like,
Yeah.
I have to make sure like things are clean and things are put away and like they're
Mhm.
set and they're content. And I'm just like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
so so
And that's
yeah, like
great.
yeah. So it is like two ways. Like, make sure that you find people that you want to be around, like find a
Mhm.
mom group. There's a lot of different options around here in Greenville, whether it's like a stroller group or a prenatal group or like I said, a yoga class or something like that. There are like a lot of options that are specifically, and there's a lot of different things that are like popping up and coming up too.
Mhm.
There's a lot of like new postpartum groups that are like occurring around here too that are, small circle groups, things like that, that are specifically for people in that like first year of life kind of situation, even if it's like coworkers or something
Yeah.
like that. Like just opening up, having those connections and
Yep.
like talking in person can be so beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, and I find it even extra beneficial if it's somebody who's in the same season of life as you.
Mhm.
Like, you know, it doesn't because for me, this will be our 3rd, it is same for y'all, and I'm like, "Okay, it doesn't have to be this is your 3rd kid and da 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 da," but if you're in the postpartum season or you're in the, you know, 1st trimester, or whatever, like, you're in the same season as me, it's so nice to just be like, "Man, this is hard," or "These kids don't listen," or whatever, and just have that sympathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being able to relate is so nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I feel like we chatted with this one for a long time, but
Yeah.
as always, like if anybody has anything else to add, if you know of any like groups or things that you liked and helped you, other in-person connections, things like that, like if you're having
Yeah.
trouble in your area finding in-person connections, maybe drop a comment and say where
Mhm.
you are and see if there's somebody else that might know something or know someone or you never
Mhm.
know like
Yeah.
I love the internet, I love social media. I do feel like how you were saying like asking them up groups on Facebook, like find
Mhm.
those things, like scroll on Instagram, feel free to like obviously if you're watching this,
Mhm.
if you're listening to this, like you utilize social media, I think it's a great tool, but also
Mhm.
remember to add on those in-person connections or
Mhm.
really filter through who you're connecting with
Yep. Yep.
because yeah, it makes such a difference. And then if you are around locally and you want to come in person to our event this weekend, we have our Build Your Village Summit, and Caitlin and I will be there. And there's going to be a bunch of other people that are just super excited to connect in person and have that connection, because it's just, I don't know. I think something magic happens when people connect in person.
For sure. For sure. And, it might not be this whole big thing, but you also might find a lifelong friend, or you also might find a future business partner. You never know.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, this was so much fun, and I hope this was helpful. If y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments if you have any topics you want us to talk about. But otherwise, we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, mamas, so much for listening. Remember, you are a rock star. I believe in you. Let's doula this. Let's crank it up a notch, and let's kick it into high gear together. Hit that subscribe button. Share this episode with a friend. Message me, email me, call me, beat me. You know how to reach me. We're doing this, mamas. I am so excited to catch you here next week. This is your one-stop go-to place for helping you find the resources you need to make the best choices for you and your family during pregnancy, birth, and most importantly, postpartum. See you later, mamas.